shared something that you'll never forget, and it's one of the greatest moments of my life, and I'm sure Danny's and Willie's and Charlie's, to win a World Series. I mean, that's a pretty special thing to do with a group of guys, and you know, we all played together for such a long period of time too. And let me see, Danny, you came up through the organization. I came up. Willie came up through it. Charlie got traded early in his career, and basically this was our baseball team. Everybody's known here, probably throughout your career, as a Kansas City Royal.
That's it. You know, Willie, this team, I mean, you weren't, kind of similar to the 2014 and 15 Royals, you weren't supposed to win. You weren't favored. You guys scored the second fewest runs in the American League that year. So what made this group a championship group?
Well, first of all, I think the belief that we thought that we belonged there. And secondly, I think it all comes down to pitching and defense. And both of these guys did a pretty good job pitching. And George and I, we play some pretty good defense every now and then. And
well,
so,
it's easy to throw when you got guys running them down like Willie and George diving over there to the left, to the right, and throwing people out all the time. You know, it makes it a lot easier. And you had Frank over at second base, then you had Buddy Biancalana, who played really good defense, and then the big Steve Balboni. People don't realize how good he was at first.
Yeah.
He was pretty damn good. He could pick it, and people don't realize that. As big as he is, they remember for his 36 home runs, but Bonesy could pick it.
Helps to have all those guys behind you, I guess, too, huh?
We caught it great. We scored enough. We had really good team speed, and you know, we just had the belief. I think, you know, Dick Hauser gave us that. We had the belief that we were going to win. We felt like we could chase down California. We just played very well against those guys that year, and I think we had them late in the season, and we just knew we were going to take them down.
And what was that like going into that final stretch and getting over the hump against the Angels, George?
Well, we had trouble for so many years getting past the Yankees. 76 we lost, 77 we lost, 78 lost, and Charlie, you guys weren't here on those teams. No. Willie and I were, and then all of a sudden in 80 we beat them, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, you know, we could play in October now. And 84 when we played against the Tigers, I mean, they were so good, so talented.
Yeah.
And
we had a shot, though.
Pardon me?
We still thought we had a shot.
Yeah, we did. I mean, they started off 35-5, and we lost 3 straight playoff games to them, but 2 of them were by 1 run.
Right.
And then they went on to win the World Series against San Diego that year. But I don't know, it was just something different about that 85 team. I don't think there was, you know, I played on teams before where, you know, guys didn't really get along, and maybe guys were jealous of one another, and they're always blaming the manager for not pitching or not playing. I mean, that was 25 guys that really had each other's back, and I think as a result of that, being down 3-1 to Toronto, I mean, Toronto on paper, God, they were good, weren't they? They were so good on paper, and you matched us up against them. We're going, you know, people would say, you guys don't have a chance, but we came back and beat them. And then I think after losing the first 2 games to the Cardinals, it was like, I remember walking in the locker room, I'm going, God, Toronto's a lot better than these guys were. Yeah. And all of a sudden, we won Game 3 and lost Game 4 and came back and did the same thing, won 3 in a row. But it was just a special group of guys.
Well, I noticed on the bench that nobody was sitting down. Everybody was kind of standing up and kind of really into the game in the 9th inning. And then Orta gets on, and us being on the first base side, I don't know if anybody else saw, but I thought he was out.
I thought he was safe. The play just didn't look smooth, you know.
Right.
It looked awkward.
It didn't look
It just
smooth,
looked awkward.
But I'm staying, because I always used to sit by the first base side. So for me, I thought he was out. And then when he called him safe, I'm like, okay, we got a shot. And then that's when the pop-up happened, and that's out they could have had, but they're still blaming Denkinger.
Right. And pass ball.
Right. And
pass ball was big after we didn't get the bunt down.
And then he ends up having to do the walk. And so for me, I was just hoping that we tie it up. I never dreamed that we would go ahead 2-1.
And I think the guy's name was Todd Worrell.
Yeah.
Todd Worrell.
I don't think he had blown a save all year.
No.
Rookie. I don't think he had a rookie. I don't think he had blown a save.
I don't think they lost the game after the 7th.
Yeah, after the 7th or 8th inning with a lead all year long.
So
I just remember the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th, I think that Horton kid came in and just mowed us down. I go, whoa, that guy's pretty good. And then the 9th inning, you know, you always think that something's going to happen, but the chances are we weren't doing much against them, and but they gave us an opportunity, opened a door for us, and we took advantage of it.
It's amazing too that you never know who that hero is going to be.
Right.
So for we look back at all the superstars on this team, who would have pegged at that point Dane Orge as being the guy that has the, I don't even know if they called it a walk-off back then, but I guess had the walk-off win.
Who did he pinch hit for?
He pinch hit for, who did he pinch hit for?
Quisenberry, maybe? I don't know. Where
It was Quisenberry. It was Quisenberry.
He pinch hit for Quisenberry.
Yep.
Orta and Sundberg scored, and that was it.
But Dane, you know, Dane was a hitter.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be.
He had a bat in his hand 24 hours a day.
Yeah, he'd be swinging the bat in the locker
all day long.
I think one time.
I think once he got to the ballpark, he put a bat in his hand. He never took it out. He never wore a glove, did he?
No, he was always swinging. I think he hit Howell in the chest.
Yeah, he
one
did.
day.
Taking practice swings.
A practice swing, popped him right in the chest. I was like, okay, one down.
Ironically enough, Dane started the year with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of that, too. I mean, if you look at Lonnie Smith, Vince Coleman, who, of course, the tarp incident, how did that change things?
A lot.
We'll never know, but Vince was a hell of a player. I know that.
I just want to know, how can you not hear a 1 mile per hour tarp coming? Because it's got to be going.
That was, that was a big. That was big for us, I guess.
But you know what? You know what happened when he came out? Tito Landrum went in and played against us. And Tito Landrum, he beat us a couple. He hit
He got a big hit off me.
He got a big hit off Blackie. He took Blackie opposite field.
He got a big
in
loop
St.
hit
Louis.
down the right field line to keep the 9th inning going.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So, you know, he did a good job. So, you know, we won, man. I don't care what they say.
Yeah. Well, and you know what?
People in St. Louis think that was Game 7. That was Game 6.
Yeah.
Come to the park ready to play Game 7 like we did, and who knows what would happen.